brother, is that we're being inundated with information from
Boom.
people who are sending posts and sending information, and it's coming from every angle and every possible standpoint and position.
Exactly.
So that one can say, one moment you think something's real, and the next minute you go, but that's not real, and maybe
Right.
this is real. And so we're in this chapel perilous, which is an essential step in any initiation. It's just like back in the days of the Eleusinian mystery schools, where they would give you a sacrament, give you a firebrand, head you down into the cave, into the labyrinth below, and say, good luck, find your way out. And in that cave, you would face all of your worst fears, all of your darkness, and a part of you would die in that journey through the cave. Well, metaphorically speaking, we've just been handed the firebrand, and we're going into this whole experience with the whole notion of unpredictability, of not knowing what the next moment's going to bring. Will we ever go back to what we call normality? Is this the new norm that we're being introduced to? All of these questions are really with us right here now, and there are no real definite answers to those questions. And so we must trust. And this is what I think is the key word. It's a matter of, from my point of view, where I see it when you go into an initiation like this, it's an invitation to retract authority from outside authorities, uniforms like police, doctors, magistrates, lawyers, all of those so-called authorities in our society that have always dictated to us about what the rules are and how to conduct oneself, now are becoming like thrown up in the air, and we don't know what is true and what is not true, and who to trust and who not to trust.
Right.
And although that is a rather disconcerting space to be in, it's also a very fertile space, because transformation of consciousness does not happen when things are really hunky-dory and expected and where the world is known. When things are uncertain, when you don't know really what is true and what is not true, when reality is being questioned, when politicians, priests, all of those so-called authority figures are being questioned, is a very fertile time for the transformation of human consciousness. So this is an invitation to take authority back and place it where it has always belonged, into inner authority, to bring the bone back to oneself,
Right.
and to take responsibility and to trust, and to remember that as we go into this long dark night of the soul, existence has done this before, and we just have to trust existence. We've been taken to the pinnacle of a certain level of physical embodiment with our technology and the way we live in cities and a high-tech reality. And what is now being added, I think, is the cherry on the cake, the icing on the cake. And what we have to do in order for this to happen is just trust. Because if we're going to the mind for answers, the mind will just get more and more confused, because there's so much information. It's really a time of just coming and to rest inside oneself,
right,
to really, come back and just see, just be okay in this moment and see what the next moment will bring, and to allow that process to happen. And it's been unprecedented that we've been given all this spare time, this free time, to do exactly that. So any event has an upside and a downside. The downside seems to be, the restriction of our freedoms, but the upside is this beautiful upwelling, if we allow it, of the natural human spirit, which is what is actually happening on this planet. And that brings me back to an earlier part of your question, which is about the seers and the prophets who've foretold about this time from millennia now. And we find ourselves awake, alive, and here and now in the very moment that those people spoke about. Look, I wouldn't be dead for quids. We have front row seats to the most incredible event that is unprecedented in our historical process, that is absolutely with us right now, and no one has a roadmap for it. We have to do this individually and then together, collectively, taking each step into the unknown, because it is the unknown. And it's just as much of an unknown as in the metaphor of metamorphosis. How can you tell a caterpillar about its destiny as a butterfly? How do you describe or even give any information to a caterpillar that of its ultimate destiny? It just would not compute to a caterpillar. Right. What happens to the caterpillar? It goes inside the chrysalis, it goes into a kind of a mush, and then it's reformed into this magnificent new creation, this magnificent creature, which is privy to the air and the breezes and perfumes and flowers. So, I mean, we must just trust. It's impossible. I believe that we're at the beginning, on the cusp of a great dawning, the great awakening, even though it doesn't look like that right now. It looks very dark, and it looks like, how can we see even beyond the next few months? It looks impossible to do that. And in many ways, it has to be like that, because every initiation worth its salt must have the very real possibility or likelihood of your extinction, of death,
yes,
of annihilation. Otherwise,
yeah,
we would not believe it enough to transform ourselves to something entirely different. And yes, what is left for us to do is to trust and to focus upon how we can die gracefully and be reborn magnificently.
beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
No small order, but an incredible task.
Woo!
We are magicians.
Yeah, and it's so beautiful that I want to drop into that. Yeah, magicians, energy alchemists, the ability to actually own the ability to actually own our sovereign nature right now, and to dive into everything that you just said with that trust, but also with that, there's a sense of, even though it's the unknown in your words, and I mean, as I said, I've listened to them for many years, there's a sense of knowing, even though there is the unknowing, there's a sense of knowing. You know, when you hear something and it just goes, like you said, the mind can't work it out. You hear something, you know, when you hear the truth, something goes in and it's just boom, it hits your body and whatever, and you're just like, whoa, man, that was just, you know, whatever, I can't even question that. There is a